going to share with you a few things about the Community Foundation, and then I know that I was asked to speak here today about your own Kenora Rotary Endowment Fund, so I'm here to share some information with you. And I come to you also with a request for help today. So that's sort of the outline of my presentation with you today. And but as I mentioned, just we can be a very casual conversation as well. My very first question for you is, could you please, anyone here, name 3 organizations in our community that have benefited from the Community Foundation? Could you name 3 of them?
Triple Play.
There's one. You need 3 though. You gotta come on. Yeah.
Rotary.
KLWCF.
My partner, KLWCF.
How am I giving the coffee cup to? Come on. Okay, yes, there you go. Congratulations. Okay, so that gets us started. More prizes to come for paying attention, for sure.
I was going to say just about everybody, but...
Just about everybody. Thank you very much.
No.
So here's a few stories that are worth telling today that I just wanted to share a bit of information with you about. This is most recently some photos that came from, the one in the top left corner is our Festival of Trees event that we hosted at Perch Bay Resort. The women in the picture are from the women's shelter. They donated the decorations for the tree that went to Sakate House, and a donor in our community foundation donated $5,000 worth of gifts and necessities for women that were in the shelter over the Christmas holidays. So that's an example of one of the stories worth telling. Next to that picture is Laurie Nelson, who you may recognize, and Laurie is a recent retiree from the Muse. And at leaving, Laurie's colleagues decided that it was important to establish an endowment fund in her name. She was very instrumental in the development of the Muse and the building of the Family Art Center, pardon me. I'm happy to share with you that was a very successful fund. It was doubled what the colleagues had intended. It also had a very interesting piece to it because we have some members of our Community Foundation donor group who are lake folks, but they challenged community businesses, local people to raise a certain amount of money, and they matched it. So that's what brought the fund to the level that it is today. As you can see, we have our, thank you for the kind and warm introduction. This is an example of a granting ceremony this year. Rather than bringing a ceremony together in the first weeks of my work, I visited all of our not-for-profit and charitable organizations, and you can see there we are at the Salvation Army in the middle of, what do you call that room?
That's a food bank.
The food bank, yeah, a very busy spot on that particular day. On the right-hand side, we have one of our board of directors members, Darsha Curtis, who's from Firefly Northwest, and she is with, let me think about it, she's from the Kenora Nordic Ski Association, and pardon me, her name is slipping from my memory at this particular moment, but it is on my slides, so let me just take a quick peek. Jenny Hissa. I don't know how I couldn't, she was in my school once in my life. Anyway, that's Jenny Hissa, and she's accepting a check for equipment and training at the Kenora Nordic Ski for their biathlon and team that's there. On the bottom left, there's Mary from St. Anglican Church, and James William, another member of our board, and they're accepting a check for the Friday night Food for Friends group. So that's a community dinner where people can come from the shelter, from the street, from the community if they wish, and come on in and do so. On the bottom right corner is a thank you card, and it actually is from an organization called, you won't be able to read it, United for Literacy. And actually your grant last year of $1,000 and some cents and money went to support books and literacy supports for that particular program. So I added that one in there because I thought you might be interested in knowing where your granting dollars went. Also in the center, I just want to compare granting and an endowment building, but here are the founding one of the founding members of Triple Play and the current manager of Triple Play, and they made a $30,000 donation to their fund this year, so I brought that in there as a little bit of a success story. Triple Play is an organization that supports youth sports, art, and recreation in the community, equipment, registration, training programs, etc. So, yeah. So I have another trivia question for you. I'm curious if you know how much money your community foundation grants on an annual basis. Approximately. You don't have to be close. How much money do you think we grant on an annual basis into the community? It's a really nice water bottle. You may not answer, and you may not answer. $20,000. Okay, low, way low. You're very cold. You're very cold.
Money,
Total money for the annual year.
1.2 million.
Very high. Low.
150.
Very low.
430,000.
Who said 300,000?
I did.
Okay, you're close. She's close. Let's go up from there. See where we get.
325,000.
Keep going.
3/3.
Come on, Jim, you have to get a cup. 375.
I don't know the totals.
We'll go with 375. That's close enough, Christine. You know, that's not how it works in kindergarten. I know that much for sure. Okay. So we'll just share with you a little bit of information about the Community Foundation. These are the donations that came into the Community Foundation in 2023. And in this, this is money that is endowed. It goes directly into the endowment fund. So this year, $571,000 went into the endowment fund, and $140,000 was flow through. That means that the donor designates exactly where the money is going, perhaps wherever it may be that they choose. So anyway, we budget each year for amount that we think that's going to come in, and amount that is, and that actually does in our annual budget. And in 2023 and also in 2022, those were very high years of giving. There are some factors that impacted that. Specifically, there were some donations that we applied for as well for the Community Services Recovery Fund through COVID, which was a substantial amount of money that came in that we also went out in grants to local communities. So that's the amount of money that comes in 2023. That was the total amount up at the top. These are our 4 largest donors in the 2023 year, and the first of is Gail Canant's Art and Education Endowment Fund at $50,000 sitting there. The Gordon Smith Memorial Fund for Children, Sports and Social Services. It's a very large endowment there of $69,000. As you can see, the Laurie Nelson Legacy Fund was intended to be a $50,000 endowment fund, and it became a $101,000 fund. So that is an incredible tribute to Laurie, her contributions to our community, and also to recognize her commitment to the Community Foundations. Pretty wonderful. And as you can see on the bottom, the Muse, the Lake of the Woods Museum, and the Douglas Family Art Center. This was a long 3-year commitment to build the Douglas Family Art Center, and these were the last endowments that came in to support that amount. So those were our 4 largest donors for 2023. So in our year-end report, so you can see some of the sizes of the endowments that come in, and we can share that information with you. These are trends on our, so you can sort of see the number of donors and the number of donation transactions. So in the blue on the left-hand side is the number of donation transactions. So there were 644 actual donations that happened, and that includes everything like payroll deposits from CP Rail. They contribute to the endowment fund, so those are small donations that would happen every pay period. Some people give us $20 a month, and those are included in those things. Some are larger endowments that come in. And the number of donors from last year was 293, and we established 3 new endowment funds last year. So those are the 2023. Any questions about that? Okay, so here's your next trivia question. If that's what the number of donations look like, and you can see that we got 700 and some odd thousand this year, how large do you think the endowment fund is now? Does anyone know what year it started? We could do some math. Mr. Parfit. 2003 was the beginning of the endowment fund.
$1 million.
Okay, good guess. Very low guess.
2.3 million.
Very low guess.
7.1.
Pardon me?
7.1.
Low.
Okay.
High. So it's between 7.1 and 10.
85. 8.1.
Low.
9.
92.
We're going for 9.
8.9. I think you were the closest, Albie. Congratulations, you get a new lunch kit. But the foundation started in 2004 with initial contributions of $40,000, and the fund has continued to grow. And the largest year of, these are the investment income that has happened from right up to 2023. So you can see that the endowment's moving across. It is actually an the top of my slide's cut off, 8.9% or 8.9 million fund currently. And this is how the growth of the fund has looked over time. They are the endowment contributions to build the endowment that it has been to 8.93. Our largest year of giving, I'm just going to cover 2021. Our largest year of giving was $729,776. In 2021, we had $1 million, but that was donations to the building of the family, the art center. So that year that was different contributions to that building and not necessarily to the endowment fund. So that is exactly. So I asked you already how much money the Community Foundation grants out each year. I'll just slip to the next slide. So this is 2023. The largest portion of our grant in 2023 comes from the Moffat Foundation, the Moffat Family Fund for Youth and Families was part of the initial endowment into, am I correct? It was part of the initial endowment that built the Community Foundation, the Moffat family?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, and they contribute, this year they're contributing almost $100,000 to granting in our community. Other programs that do come in, you can see we have youth and philanthropy. Actually, my partner, Shelley, who works as our admin coordinator, she's over at Thomas Aquinas today. Copperfin donates $4,000 every year, and the students at Beaver Brae and at Thomas Aquinas each get $2,000, and they learn about our local charities, they learn about our community, they do research projects, and at the end of the year they do a granting ceremony. They give out 4 grants, $500 at each school to a local charity or not-for-profit. So that's our youth and philanthropy program. We have bursaries and scholarships, agency funds. So those are our community agencies that support their own funds, much like the Rotary supports your own fund. And there are a variety of those. Triple Play is an example of one I just shared with you today. We have additional flow-through money, and that comes when there's a need and a donor, and we spend time matching. I'll give you an example. The washing machine at Twice is Nice and the commercial dishwasher at the Anglican Church where they do the Friday night dinners. They both broke down. They needed money. We connected with the donor through the Winnipeg Foundation, and that's what we call a flow-through fund. Someone has an interest in supporting something happening in Kenora, and we thank them for that and connect them with the donor, and those are examples of what we call flow-through funds. So they're designated by. And then we do some internal granting as well. So there is a sort of a pie chart of the kind of granting that goes out. And then the other thing that I was having a conversation with Mr. Retson, and he was asking about your Rotary fund and where your Rotary fund, the funds are designated to. So currently your fund agreements, you support community. So that in our granting process, that means that people request money and from the community if they're a not-for-profit or they're a charitable organization that's sponsored, a not-for-profit that's sponsored, and they can apply for granting. But last year we granted out almost $72,000 in that area. Social services would be a variety of different organizations that do support. That does include some food services. It provides a variety of different things. I mentioned to you already what the agency fund is. People can apply for funding through health and wellness, arts and culture, money for the environment, and also animal welfare. Last year we didn't have any applicants for animal welfare, but annually we mostly have them from the cat shelter for It's a Dog's Life, and sometime Lillian's wildlife program. She requests some funding here and there. So in total last year, that's how our granting was divided up. So your Rotary grants are sitting in that community category, which is a very nice broad category. It allows us to, we get a lot of applications from needy organizations in that area. So
Lynn,
yeah.
get to
picked community because we've reached the $50,000 mark in our donations.
Yeah, that was a very good question. You picked it at the very beginning when you made your fund.
So we all had already.
You already had done that. In some cases, we do have community funds where people designate to certain, for instance, a donor may designate all their funds are going to KACL. A donor may also designate that all their funds go to Rotary, right? So they could be donor designated. Correct me if I'm wrong. But in this particular case, the community, like these categories give us some broad categories where people may be interested in putting their funds. Some people may choose to spread it across, but community is probably our broadest category, and it's basically community needs. So anyone who applies, who has a need, who has done so. Most recently, our board of directors have also just created an emergency fund because we have 2 funding cycles that happen. In some cases, we do need to partner with people to grant out. So for instance, our bylaws and we're not allowed to grant to an individual. So if somebody designates money to an individual, we can't do that. We are only under the CRA allowed to grant to not-for-profits or community. But sometimes we have requests. For instance, we have a fund where someone specified they wanted their legacy endowment to go to families who are sick or terminally ill and they need financial support. So we can't do that, but we can partner with Kenora Lake of the Woods Community Foundation, and they have a Bus for Hope program. You may remember that. There was a large art display. Chris Gould was involved, and it was a breast cancer support, and they raised a whole bunch of money, and they have an endowment fund there, and they distribute money to families who need money for traveling, need money for accommodations. So we can partner with other agencies to do that kind of work. So there's an example of one that would come under the health and wellness group. Here's some recent endowments and oh my goodness, the top of the slide's cut off. That beautiful woman happens to be Miss Carol Wicks, Cookie Wicks on the right-hand side. And next to her are her parents. And the Eric and Dorothea and Cookie Wicks Community Fund is one of our newer endowments. And Miss Wick has also created the Miss Cookie Scholarship Fund, $20,000 to a graduating student. So she's built an endowment fund, so it'll generate that money each year in honor of her commitment to students in KPDSB. So there's an example of a named endowment. On our left-hand side right now is a new marketing campaign that we're working on in terms of celebrating our 20 years of giving. And on our table right now, there's a pamphlet for you around that we're promoting out about making this our largest year of giving. And there are also some other examples of testimonials, but this one is in our 20th year. We're highlighting the agencies and the donors and the people who've been with us from the very beginning and are celebrating our 20th year. So there's a few stories that I just wanted to share with you about the foundation. Are there any more questions about the foundation specifically before I go to the Rotary Fund? Sure.
Education, like bursaries or whatever, what does that come out of?
Scholarships and bursaries is a separate program. So if you are a donor and you decide that you want to designate funding to someone who graduates and is going to an engineering program, you can establish an endowment fund. We work with both of the local high schools. We distribute fund and bursary and fund money at graduation time in honor of the donors. We manage the financing of it. We manage the check writing. We come to the graduation and present on behalf of the donors, and then disperse as people request. So here are you, our community partners. It's so important that you were our title page of our year in review. There's the Rotary. You got a great barbecue system going, I know that. But that normally when we host an event, you're there and you're there supporting us. So the Kenora Rotary Club has been there. Did anyone pay attention to how long the Rotary Club has been contributing to the Kenora Lake of the Woods Community Foundation? And do you know what the largest donation is that you ever made?
$10,000.
Okay. Anyone know what year? In 2013, you made 2 $10,000 donations to establish the Kenora Lake of the Woods Rotary Club, Rotary Endowment Fund. So that was the first donations that were created. And currently, right now, your principal balance is $54,244.02. And we dispersed $1,000 out of that this year. These are the donations that have gone into your fund. And I know you can't read this text over here, so I will read it to you. But your largest donor in blue is the Rotary Club. And you have donated $46,833 to your own fund. And then you have other people that have donated money, and they represent up this small amount here. And their names are in there of people that in the last little while that have donated, including some folks that are sitting in this room here today. So you can see that in 2013, you made two $10,000 donations. You've had 149 donations into your fund. We have granted out almost $20,000 out of the fund over the years. So thank you very much for that. And as you can see, your initial donations were large to build the fund to the $50,000 level that you wanted to have it as. And then there have been smaller donations since that time. Though substantial donations, $5,000 is a lot of money in terms of a contribution to a charitable organization. So that's the history of your donations into your fund at this time. So we just had a recommendation from our finance committee, of which Don is a member of our finance committee, and many of our we have a lot of people on that committee that are involved in investments, banking, et cetera, and their contribution and their volunteer work is to provide us with advice around the endowment fund and to make recommendations to the board of directors, which Laura is a member of. And just at our last meeting, we did pass this year's disbursement rate, and it is the highest rate we've ever dispersed in honor of our 20th anniversary, and it will be 6.26%, which is the total amount of $500,000 of granting that will happen in 2024, which is the highest in record yet. So that'll be the largest donation that also comes out of so 5% of your fund will be dispersed this year.
Now, Jim, if I didn't answer it because you were...
No, 6.23.
That all goes back to the agency fund.
What I'm interested in is if you earn more money,
Yep.
and you only distribute a portion of it,
Yep.
does the extra amount go in the specific
Yeah, it
fund?
stays there.
It stays in that
So
fund.
it stays in the Rotary Club, would get that amount that wasn't distributed that
That's
year.
correct.
It
You
would
can
stay
look
with
at
the
bill.
Rotary Club.
You can look what's in, what's out, now the agency funds are different. The agency funds, with the exception of the operating fee, get whatever's earned back. That's not a decision of the board.
Mm-hmm. True.
Correct?
True.
Agency funds,
Yep.
if there's an agency fund like KWL, they get all their funds back.
Yep.
Or girls, and I said they give it all back. I'm not quite sure on that, but most of it's going back.
They get the dispersed percentage amount back for their organization for that year.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So that's the difference.
So we talked already about several charities and not-for-profits that are supported by the Rotary Club. Here's the granting that happened I'm just gonna, actually, can I go back? I don't know if I can see that. So the top 10 grantees that you've granted to on the right-hand side are the City of Kenora. You've contributed to Kenora Catholic District School Board, Kenora Harvest, Knox United Church, YMCA, YWCA, The Muse, United for Literacy, which was last year's St. Albans Cathedral. So those are the amounts that were dispersed out of your fund. You'll notice that 2023 was a lower year, and that's as a result of the fact that the board in 2023, we had some significantly poor years in the investment market, and they were very conservative in their granting that year, and so the percentage was lower, around 2.53, I believe it was. Laura? 2.53, something like that. And this year it'll be up at 6.2, 6.3%. So it'll be your largest year of granting for sure that has come out of your fund. So in 2014, after your first year of investments, you granted out $950,000. And in 2022, it was almost $3,000. So those are the agencies that your grants have gone to. Your fund is determined to be a community needs fund. So in the fall of every year, we call for applications for community needs. And the organizations put their applications in if they are eligible. In other words, if they're not-for-profit or they're sponsored by a charitable organization or they are a charitable organization, that amount is distributed based on the decisions of a volunteer board on our grants committee, and they share that money out. Thanks for that on behalf of all of these organizations. It's an incredible thing that you're doing. So thank you for that. And here we come up to the reason that I asked to visit here today. I did mention to you that this is going to be our largest year of granting. We're looking at $500,000 to come out to local charities and sponsors. And I mentioned also to you that on the pamphlet on your table, you can see that over $5 million was granted to community initiatives since 2004. So I'm asking you, and I'm wondering how we can partner in 2024 to give back to our community in the largest way that we have. And I'm curious about your ideas as a Rotary Club about how you feel about your fund and what you would like to do with your fund this year, and if we can count on you for a larger contribution in 2024 in celebration of the number of years that we've been here. So that's sort of our request from you, and as we come into this. I'm happy to be here as the executive director, and I've been in Kenora for many, many years. I thought I might be a volunteer on the Community Foundation when I retired. I didn't really know I'd be an employee, but I am really happy to be involved in this work, and I'm happy to partner with local organizations. On your table is an example of a testimonial cards that we've done in the past, and we're working with 6P Marketing out of Winnipeg right now to make these for our 20th anniversary. And I would love to have a Rotary project and Rotary's logo and our partnership highlighted as a testimonial for the growth of your fund and the work that you've done in the community. So that was something that I would really like to do. I also put on your table an example of legacy giving. That's another large part of the Community Foundation. People can donate property, stocks and bonds, funds, etc. And we do promote that with people when they're building their wills. And we do meet with our local law partners to support that when people are gathering together. If people want to give where they live, that's our slogan. All of your money stays within the geographical area of Kenora, Lake of the Woods communities and our Anishinaabe communities that surround our local community. If you want to go on our website, we actually have a map that shows our areas. But anyway, I'm here to ask that for you to think about that. We have between now and August when we're going to have our 20th anniversary big celebration, and we'd like to invite you to come to that, and we hope that at that time we can celebrate another contribution on behalf of the Rotary. I wanted to recognize our board of directors. So currently our president is Shannon Robinson, and she works for the Northwestern Health Unit in a regional role, and her volunteer role is chair. Marie Seymour, who you may or may not know from Shunya, is our vice president. Our treasurer is Claudine Cordero. James Williams from Claudine is retired from BDO, am I correct? BDO. And James Williams works at the Ministry of Natural Resources, young family here in the community, new from Thunder Bay, and they involved. Jess Rowe was on the hospital, Lake of the Woods Hospital Foundation, and she now works at Kenora Homes for seniors and works there. Gord McCool, you may know from Standard Insurance. Laura, who's joined us here today and has multiple volunteer roles. Kyle from the city joins us, and Darsha Curtis from Firefly. So we have quite a energetic and motivated board of directors currently, and I'm very happy to be working with them. And I also wanted to recognize our sponsors. These are people that are regularly sponsoring the Community Foundation. For instance, Westland Insurance is, we are in the same building with them. They're owned by Para. They're our volunteer committee for our golf tournament every year. Copperfin Credit Union, Moncrief Home Hardware, FSET provides us with our technology supports. There's a variety of them. Those just a spattering that I wanted to honor today.